If you clicked on this video, then the thought of buying a home must have crossed your mind. Well, if this is the first time you're buying a house, the whole process might seem very confusing to you. This is why you need to get a buyer's agent to help you walk through the process. A good buyer's agent can save you thousands of dollars and months of your time. But how do you choose a good buyer's agent? In this video, I'm going to go over what you need to know to choose the right agent. Most people won't even think about interviewing a buyer's agent. They just go with the first agent that they talk to. Either it's someone that a friend recommended or someone that they met at an open house. But not all buyer's agents are created equal, and not every buyer wants the same thing. Buying a home can be a long and time-consuming process, so you want somebody who's knowledgeable and experienced to guide you through the process to make it go as smoothly as possible. You want to have an agent that will take you through the house hunting process, the offering process, negotiation, as well as getting to the closing table with no issues. To ensure that the transaction can go as smoothly as possible, you want to have an agent that you personally can work with. For instance, they need to be able to work on your schedule. They need to be knowledgeable about the areas that you're actually looking in. They need to be familiar with the property type that you're actually thinking of purchasing. They also need to have great communication and negotiation skills. So here are some questions that you need to ask them to make sure that they're a right fit for you. The first thing you want to know is, are they willing to work on your schedule? Well, if you work a 9 to 5, is the agent going to be willing to show properties at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night? Or if you're off on a Wednesday, will the agent be available all day on Wednesday to take you touring through different properties? It seems pretty obvious, but a lot of the times people just don't ask. You also want to know that the agent is familiar with the area that you're actually purchasing in. For instance, if you're in New York and the agent predominantly works in Staten Island and you're looking for a house in the Bronx, they might have no idea, or they might not be willing to travel that far. So you definitely want to know they actually work in the area you're looking in. The next thing you want to know is what type of property this agent specializes in. If this agent specializes in single family homes and you want to buy a 3 or 4 family house, they might not be able to tell if a certain house is a good deal or not. For the single family house, they usually look at the design and if it's good to live in. But for a multifamily, most agents focus on how much money the property actually generates. That's what most buyers who are buying multifamily care about. Different agents specialize in different things, so you want to find an agent that specializes in what you're actually trying to buy. If you want to buy a co-op, you want to make sure that that agent has dealt with co-ops in that area before. It would be even better if that agent has dealt with a co-op in the exact building that you're buying in. Every single building has different rules, and if an agent has closed the deal in that specific building, then they would be very familiar with that specific co-op board. Co-op boards can have weird rules. For instance, a co-op board can have a rule where, say, the buyer needs to have a minimum salary of $200,000. Well, you might be able to qualify for the loan with $100,000, but if the agent already knows that that board requires $200,000 and you don't make $200,000, then it's better just not to waste your time and just move on to the next one. So the biggest advantage for an agent to have is if they've actually closed the deal in that specific building before. Now, I'm not saying that's required, but it's just a little icing on the cake because it might be hard to find the agent that's actually closed the deal on a building. But you just want to make sure that that agent has had experience with co-op boards before, so he's able to help you with writing the board application. If you can't find someone like that, then at least find somebody where they are working with somebody who's had experience with co-op boards before. Communication. First, you want to make sure that that agent likes to use the same type of communication as you. For instance, some people just dread talking on the phone and they just want to operate through straight text or email. You need to make sure that your agent is responsive in that form of communication. Now, some agents don't really check their email that often. So you want to make sure your preferred form of communication is the same as theirs. Now, you also want to make sure that they have good communication. You want to make sure that they get back to you in a timely fashion. For example, if you send them a text and they respond to you 5 hours, 6 hours later, or maybe even the next day, that's really slow communication. And if they're responding to you in that pace, they're probably responding to all their messages in that pace. That can be an issue when you're making offers. For instance, you view a property, you ask the buyer's agent to submit an offer, they take a couple hours to submit the offer. Now, the offer is sent to the seller's agent. The seller's agent receives the offer and sends a counter offer. Now, if that person takes another few hours to get back to you about the counter offer, and then you submit another offer, well, that seller's agent might have gotten a better offer in that time, and you might have lost out on the deal. So you want to make sure your agent is very responsive. You also want to know how often they follow up. So sometimes deals can take months to close. You want to make sure that your agent is on top of things and constantly following up on the process of everything. The next thing you want to know is how they plan to go through the negotiation process. There's usually 3 stages of negotiation: the offer stage, the inspection stage, as well as the appraisal phase. You want to really just get to know how they plan on going about doing that. I didn't go too in detail about negotiations just because there's so much to say about it and I didn't want to make this video like an hour long. So I'm gonna make a separate video and the link is gonna go up here. Towards the end of speaking with your agent, you wanna ask the agent what makes them different. Most agents can give you the same generic answers, but this is the part where they can show what they've got and differentiate themselves. They can tell you something like, oh, they've worked 15 years in this area, or say they've bought property themselves and they invest themselves, so they know exactly what to look for. Something like that, just something that'll make them different and give them a competitive edge against other agents. Once you've spoken with your agent for a little bit and kind of gotten a feel of what that agent is like, you want to ask them if they have any questions for you. This is a very important question because you want to make sure that the agent asks you questions about your situation and get to know you. The agent needs to ask you questions about your personal situation to know what to look for you. So for instance, you tell the agent you're looking for a co-op. The agent wants to ask you if you have any pets, because if you have a dog, that might cause a problem with a lot of co-op boards, and they want to know ahead of time so they don't waste their time looking at co-ops that don't allow dogs. If they're a good agent, then they would know to dig deeper about your information and what you're looking for. They might ask you questions such as, how far along in the process are you? Have you looked at homes already? Have you been pre-approved, pre-underwritten, something like that? Or if you have certain specific requirements. The agent should ask you these questions so that they know what you specifically need, so they can save themselves time as well as you time. So if an agent doesn't ask you any questions, then that means they're very desperate for clients right now, and that's not the agent that you want to work with. So those are the questions that you should ask your agent when you're interviewing them. I would suggest that you interview 2 or 3 agents just so you can get a feel of how they are and choose the one that makes you the most comfortable. If you've liked this video, please hit the like button. It really helps me out a lot. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you just want to say hi or something, please leave it down in the comments below. And if you want to see more content in the future like this, please hit the subscribe button as well as the bell button to get notifications when I post.